Oh, yeah, the energy. Good morning, everyone.
Come on, it's the new moon in Sagittarius. It's a fiery moon. Of course, there's energy. Yeah.
Yeah, until you doing that, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the New Moon Update. Once a month, me, Wendy, and Alejo will be here talking about what's coming up next new moon according to new moon chart. Wendy, I like your background that
Oh,
Aurora
thanks, the
Borealis.
Aurora. Yeah,
Yeah. So, Alejo, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you, Rod? Nice to meet
Yeah.
you both. How are you, Wendy?
Yeah.
I'm great.
Yeah. Yeah, we all get up early for Saturday. For a Saturday, it's like usually you want to just like chill and relax. And I think this Sagittarius season is quite unusual, isn't it? Because usually when we approach the Sagittarius season, it's kind of more like a holiday season. People trying to catch up, and there's a lot of meeting or meal or catch up with friends. But this one sounds like yes, there is, but there is a lot of but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking, now that you say this, I'm thinking that in the USA, they had the Thanksgiving, right?
Oh
Yesterday.
yeah, on Thursday. Yes, on
Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, yeah, and it is very interesting because um, the more and more reflection about the Thanksgiving feeling about with the colony and the Aborigine or people who used to live in their beginning. So there is a reflection. I like that because well, we should consider from every different angle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about this new moon, Sagittarius new moon. Who want to start? Should I invite Alejo to start about this Sagittarius new moon?
Okay, sure. Thank you. So, uh, talking about Thanksgiving, I was thinking that and kind of perhaps reimagining what Thanksgiving could be about with this idea of, okay, now we live in 2024. I saw a lot of videos on Instagram saying that it's an opportunity to share what you are thankful for, and the idea of being thankful for sharing your life with the people you share your life with. And I like this new moon in Sagittarius with this idea of being thankful, the idea of gratitude, the idea perhaps of kind of connecting with a greater principle. So this is the first thing I would say. And the other thing I wanted to say for now is that the new moon, this is I think the first new moon that we have after Pluto went into Aquarius, right? So this sense of the new beginning. I mean, of course, Pluto was in Aquarius before and everything, but now it's going to stay there. So this sense of expansiveness, that the idea of perhaps a kind of symbolic way of signifying that Pluto in Aquarius will bring a source of expansion, a source of new horizons to be explored. And so perhaps also the opportunity to reflect on that. Okay, what are the horizons that I want to explore farther, that I want to go farther, and that I want to discover. Especially, of course, the new moon is happening at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So especially, of course, if you have planets at 9 degree or angles or something at 9 degrees of Sagittarius or 9 degrees of Gemini, I think it might be an opportunity to resignify situations, trying to see the broader picture, the opportunity to kind of expand the horizons and to see how in every situation there are so many layers. I think this is a Sagittarius idea of expansion, right? Every situation is multi-layered. So it's an opportunity to step into that, I would say.
Cool. Wendy, how about you?
Yeah. This is a really interesting one, and Alejo's right. It's the first one after Pluto goes into Aquarius. So this new moon to me is very mercurial. It's even though it's in Sagittarius, it's sort of opposing Jupiter. It's very widely conjoined to Mercury, and they both square Saturn. And I think that and so therefore the new moon very widely brings in Mercury. Um, and of course, Mercury's in the sign of Sagittarius, which a lot of astrologers would say it was uncomfortable. And it's opposite Jupiter, which is in this, a lot of astrologers would say it was uncomfortable in the sign of Gemini. And they're in opposition. So there's about, I think it's about, again, coming back to Alejo, being thankful, it's about for others in our life, it's for others, that opposition as well. And I think, and in a normal configuration, we would think this was sort of quite challenging, but I think it's because they're mutually received, Mercury and Sag, Jupiter and Gemini, because they're mutually received, it works. It really works. And I think this week we saw that with the ceasefire in Gaza. It's
Mm.
about negotiations, and so it's a good time to, and square to that Saturn, it's a great time to anchor things that are outstanding in one's life, things that are sort of waiting to be closure. That Saturn is able to do that. It anchors it, gives it closure, because all what's going on is all applying as well. It's all going to come, it's still building and building. So there's a sense of anticipation there. So I think it's a really good time to just, anchor oneself as well,
Mm.
which is quite different than a Sagittarius new moon, which is very non-anchoring. But I think it's a good time to put things in motion, like, but getting deals done,
Mm.
getting negotiations done, that sort of thing. So I think it's a good month for, yeah, closing stuff. That's,
Yeah, very interesting because we are talking about this as I beginning. I say, yeah, this is the season. People usually just like going out for party and catching up with friends. But with this T square, with this T kind of T square with the Saturn, there is a sense of wait a minute, before I going out. Have I finished my homework? have I done my job, or have I locked the door, or anything like this with a Saturnian flavor? So it's kind of yes, we probably need to think before we act, and it is quite interesting. But also at the same time, I think at this moment Mercury is still retrograde, and for coming up week, the Mars is going to stationary and the retrograde. So all the things is kind of a hold your horse. There's a feeling about that, no?
yeah,
Alejo.
Yeah, and I like this idea of anchoring that Wendy was talking about because I really like midpoints, and I was looking at the midpoints, and
Uh-huh.
basically the only midpoint that the new moon is picking up is between Pluto and Chiron. And I was thinking what this
Mm.
could mean. I was like trying to coming up with ideas about okay, what could this mean? And I think Pluto and Chiron together, they talk a little bit about this idea of going deep, facing yourself, facing the when he was talking unfinished business. So this idea of facing, perhaps areas of life, aspects of life that have been hurtful, you have decided to set apart because they are scary, or they are you feel they can take over you, and perhaps yeah, the fiery, the drive, the faith that Sagittarius brings, and this possibility that when he was talking about Mercury, this kind of ability to think about this to talk about this, to express about this, all of the things that are happening is an opportunity, yeah, to anchor and to find some
Mm.
closure. I really like this idea.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yes, Wendy, you want to add anything?
yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, because Mercury and Jupiter, these planets that are, they're both retrograde. So, when planets are retrograde, it is back to what you said, Rod, time to do your homework, time to do your accounts. So it's a good time to, but this is more physical, it's more verbal, it's more, so it's
Mm.
time to write it or speak it or express, that sort of thing. And I love your hold your horses, and it's hold your wild horses, isn't it? Yeah. And so I guess that conversation that is held, the conversation that needs to be had, is somewhat contained. It's somewhat, even though it's honest. So whatever has to be said, it can be honest, it's truthful, but it is respectful. It is contained. So
Mm.
it is a good, have these conversations that are outstanding. It's time to ask for a raise at your job, or it's time to be, it's time to, just have the conversation that is normally uncomfortable. I think It's something that's normally uncomfortable. This is a time to actually just step up and say it. There's an element of support here for that, I think.
Wow. I really like when they're talking about the this is about the verbal thing is because the Mercury is not far and this Mercury opposite Jupiter and we usually toward to the end of the year we are going to make some plan for next year and maybe it's kind of I think write it down or talk about it or communication chat with our friend is helping us to realize what's the reality and what is the what we want and then we can just trying to meet in the between and Alejo, thank you for bringing out that midpoint. That is a pretty interesting there's in depths you're going to the Pluto Chiron, there's a depths that kind of a wounded and the healing process needs to be done and we probably need to examine it.
Yeah, and I like so much what Wendy was saying, and I this idea of facing the uncomfortable, and I would say,
Oh.
the new moon in Sagittarius is promising in the sense that sometimes we might be surprised. When you put the example, like, okay, maybe it's the time to ask for a raise, that you've been wanting to ask for a long time. And the reasons you didn't ask for this before, and this is just a random example, of course, the reasons why you didn't ask for this before, and maybe you will be surprised if you go to this conversation. This idea that Sagittarius expands reality, right? So sometimes we might be in a narrow mindset, and this idea of doing your homework and paying attention to what needs to be done. By doing this, perhaps we will discover that there were actually other possibilities, other realities that we were stuck, we could not see them.
Yeah. Well, if I may, I want to add the big stars in because interestingly,
Yes.
this new moon is at 9 degrees Sagittarius, not far from a famous fixed star called Antares, the heart of the Scorpio. And it's very interesting because it's a fixed star related to intensity. The Antares in the Greek, ant, the fixed is ant, is against Alice, Mars, against the Mars because it's super red. So it's as red as the Mars. So they say it's a Mars enemy against the Mars. But it has also the Martian energy there. So it's very interesting according to Benedict Brady. This also, I think Vivian Robertson also mentioned certain things about obsession. And that is quite interesting when we think about the Scorpio. They usually idea will come with obsession. They hold something, hold a memory, hold a feeling, and couldn't let go. But interestingly, Benedict Brady mentioned about one thing we should be aware is this star. One, I don't want to say good or bad. They seeking for intensity. They could do things and to the extreme. So either good or bad. If you want to, fall on, that's good. But if you did not really consider carefully, it's just let it go with that intensity. Somehow it can, it can kind of destroy you or so there is a consideration there with these fixed stars. Now I'm going to invite us because it's kind of an interesting new moon and toward the end of the year. New moon is about plant seed. So if this new moon is about plant seed, what seed you want to plant and what seed you suggest we can think about it? Sorry.
Well, I think I like what you said about Antares as well, and it's sort of that intensity, which I think is what has been building also for the last few months as well. I think it's about with everything that's been happening in the world, and that Saturn and Pisces, the T square, the apex, is a reminder of that uncertainty. It's a reminder of sort of the anxiety that's still being carried. I think this new moon is an opportunity, like Alejo said, it's sort of pregnant with hope. There's so much hope and faith attached to this. We need to breathe. People need to breathe. And I think, after that, people can start to exhale now. So I think we need to find that, this whole Gemini Sagittarius, people need that rhythm. We need to find our own rhythm and our own breath I think this is what, and once we, I think that's how we can work with this and a way we can manage it. I think the breath is very important in this new moon.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alejo?
Yeah, I agree with Wendy. I think it's beautiful. And also, there's so much mutability now with this Jupiter in Gemini, the two luminaries in Sagittarius, Mercury in Sagittarius, and the square to Saturn in Pisces. That I think this idea of, breathing, I really related to mutability, the idea of, flowing and
Ah,
letting be carried by the natural flow of life. I don't know how to call it. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. It is very interesting because since the Pluto moved into Aquarius, and then the first time we step into the 200 years, the different element for the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, that everything looks like could be very new, and everything could be like we are not going to experience before. So there is for people like me, I would be very scared for facing uncertainty, especially with this kind of a Saturn in Pisces. It enhances that feeling about I don't want to go there because I never been there before, but for the fiery people, they would be like, let's try it, it's party. So there is a different way to dealing with this uncertainty, and I like that. Well, we just go with the natural flow, and I think I forget who told me that. Yeah, if you see it the uncertainty, you may be scared, but if you see it's a unknown adventure, maybe it's more fun, and I quite like that way. Well, I think it is very interesting to talk about this new moon in the Sagittarius. And I think next week we are going to have a astrological duet, right?
Yeah, on the 5th, we have Astrological Duet. It's a very special one because it's going to be with
Ooh.
Melanie Reinhardt and Darby Costello. So basically, they're going to come and they're going to share how they discovered astrology, how it was to do astrology when they were younger, how they met, and like this idea of, nowadays astrology, we click something on the internet and we get so much information, right? It's so easy to find courses to study astrology. It's like everything, it's so accessible. So sometimes when I speak with them and I go into this other world, kind of more Harry Potter-like, in which astrology is something secret, something that is hidden, something that really you need to reach out, or maybe it reaches out for you, and you need to kind of find your way. And I'm always so interested in everything they share about all of this, what it was to find the beauty of
Definitely.
astrology back then. And so they're going to be
Yes,
sharing about that. So also about talking about being thankful. So we discover how grateful we are to have all the astrology we have today.
definitely. So this will be an online event by Zoom. And if you want to join this event, please go to Astrological Association website, click on event, and you will find Astrological Duet. You have to register, then you will receive a link. It's a free event, but we are very welcome to receive the donation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, Wendy, so we also planning the conference next year. Do we have a date?
Yes, we do. We have it, and it is on August. When is it? August
28th, is it?
29th, 30th, and 31st. Yes. But there'll be pre-workshops, a pre-conference excursion. We're in Nottingham, Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood territory. So yeah, definitely come along. It's going to be great. Brilliant.
Going to
Yeah.
be fun. Going to be fun. So everyone, don't forget, and we will release the news about this conference soon. But before that, if you can't wait, join us on Astrological Duet on next Friday. Friday, right? Or Thursday?
Thursday.
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 Next Thursday evening, go to our website to look the event and also make some donation. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.